Claude Code is not just for coding. It can connect to every tool you use and become a super assistant that can actually do real work for you. It can answer live questions about your data, add new users, create new things for you. Anything that you could do manually in the software, Claude can do for you. So Claude can pull together a list of every lead that's in your CRM that's highly engaged and ready to buy. It can generate new ads for you. It can create new Facebook ad campaigns. It can write and send your email newsletters for you. And it's able to do all of this because of a thing called MCP servers. Now, MCPs are basically like plugins. They just allow Claude Code to connect to other tools. And giving Claude access to outside tools is actually what makes it insanely powerful. So by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what an MCP server is, how to connect them to your Claude Code, and a few things to watch out for so your data stays secure. But first, I'm Tyler Germain. I've spent the last 3 years building AI marketing and content systems for business owners, and I teach thousands of people how to do the same. I've probably used hundreds of MCP servers at this point, so I've figured out some tips and tricks along the way. But before we do anything crazy, let's jump into what an MCP server is and why we need them in the first place. So like I said, an MCP is basically just a plugin that lets Claude talk to another tool. So you could see in this example here, you are having a conversation with Claude Code. When Claude Code needs to use an external tool, it's going to talk to the MCP server, which is what controls the external tool. So in this example, we have 2 MCP servers installed, the Google Drive MCP, which allows Claude to access Google Drive, and then the Higgsfield MCP, which allows Claude to access Higgsfield. Every time you install a new one of these servers, Claude is going to get new capabilities. So if I wanted to give Claude access to Figma, I would give it access to the Figma MCP server, which would be able to control Figma. And when you install these MCP servers, Claude always knows what it has access to. So when I ask it to generate a video for me, it already knows that it has the Higgsfield MCP installed, and it will use that for the generation. You can install unlimited MCP servers, but I would advise against it because it can get expensive. I'll touch on that a little bit later in the video. So you might find yourself asking, why do we have this MCP server? Why can't Claude Code just connect directly to Google Drive, for example? And the answer is because humans and AI don't really think or operate the same way. Here's a quick example. When you're hungry and you want to order a pizza, you can go online to the Domino's website, you can click through the different options, create a cart, check out with your payment method, and then you can have a Domino's pizza delivered to your door. And this is great because humans need that visual component. I have no interest in ordering a pizza if I have to type in code that looks like this. It's going to be much easier for me to use the Domino's website. But Claude doesn't think the same way. It doesn't need all these fancy colors and images of pizzas in the store. It really just needs the core capabilities of knowing what's available and being able to place an order. And if we strip out all of the fluff from the Domino's website, it allows Claude to create a request that is really small, but it still includes the same information that we would have included when we click through the Domino's website. So MCP servers were created to give AI agents a lightweight way to access tools without including any of that extra information that they don't need access to. Now, there probably isn't actually an MCP for Domino's, so we can run through an example of a tool that actually has one. Higgsfield has a great MCP, and Higgsfield is a video and image generation platform. Now, we could go onto the Higgsfield website, we could select the model we want to use, give it a prompt, and generate our videos that way. However, Claude can also generate these using the MCP server. And instead of us opening up the website, clicking around, copy and pasting a prompt from Claude, and then downloading the video, Claude can just do everything in one swoop with one small little request. And again, it just makes sense for us to use this format with Claude because AI agents do best with code and text. So when you want to give your AI agent access to outside tools, you do that through an MCP server. Now, there are 2 different types of MCP servers. We have remote connectors and desktop extensions. Remote connectors are going to be for your online tools. So think Canva, Google Sheets, Higgsfield. Any online cloud or SaaS product is most likely going to use a remote connector. And honestly, this is going to handle 90 to 95% of the tools you're connecting because most of us are using SaaS products these days. But there are still some tools that run locally on our computer, and for those tools, we need to use desktop extensions. This is going to be for anything that runs locally on your computer, so think your Figmas, your Microsoft Offices, GitHub, etc. And I found this helpful chart here which explains which type of MCP server you should be using based on which type of tool you have. So if this is helpful, just pause it for a second, take a look through this, figure out what you need, and then come back to the video. But I'm about to walk through both of these processes right here so that you can see what that looks like. The easiest way to connect an MCP server is going to be through the desktop app. If you haven't installed that yet, head over to claude.com/download. Download for your operating system, sign into your account, and then come back to this video. I'll leave a link to this page in the description below. So open up your desktop app, and then you're going to want to click on the Customize button. Click on the Connectors button, which is where all of our MCP connections are going to live. Then you're going to want to click on this plus button to add a new connector, and then we can browse through connectors that are available from Anthropic. Now, this is Anthropic's connector marketplace, and these are all officially supported by Anthropic. Either they were created by their team or they partnered with one of these companies to get the MCP listed in this directory. So you can trust that all of these connectors are going to be safe to use. In order to walk through the process of actually getting an MCP server connected, I'm going to use Canva as an example. So all we have to do is click on this plus button, and then it's going to bring us over to Canva for authentication. Since I'm already logged in, it brings us right to the authentication page, but you might have to log into your account before you see this. Just click on allow, and that will bring you back to the Claude desktop app, where we can now see our Canva integration is created. And it's that simple. Now our Claude has access to our Canva account, and we can ask Claude to do anything we want within that account. So I'll head over, I'll create a new session with Claude Code, and we can just ask it to find the latest Canva file that I've created. We can see that it's now asking permission to use the Canva tool, so we can click always allow. And then we'll switch this over to bypass permissions so we don't have to do that again. You can see that it says your most recently created Canva design is slide22.pdf, a one-page design. We can click to open this in Canva. Probably just something kind of random, but that illustrates how this connects directly to Canva. Let's also ask it to make a quick design, like a flyer type of design for an AI meetup that I'm doing in Boston on June 15th. We'll give this a moment and we'll see what the design looks like. All right, and it looks like it's wrapped up here. It actually created 4 different flyer options for the AI meetup, so we can click through these and take a quick preview. Honestly, this isn't entirely what I was looking for, but we could create a skill that gives it a little bit more guidance. We could use a better prompt, etc. Let's take a look at some of these other examples. There we go. That's a little bit closer to what I was looking for. Obviously, this doesn't look very good. But you can see a variety of results with what AI has generated here. But what happens if there isn't a connector available for the tool that you want to use? For example, Higgsfield is a custom connector. So I'm going to disconnect this and show you the install process for an MCP that isn't available within the connectors directory. The first thing I'm going to do is head to the Higgsfield MCP page. Not every MCP server is going to have a page that looks exactly like this, but they will all give you this custom URL that you copy and paste into the desktop app. So copy this, open up the connectors page, click on add a custom connector, and name it whatever you want. For this example, we're going to name it Higgsfield. Now, you shouldn't need to worry about any of these advanced settings. If they are needed for your specific MCP server, they will be included in the instructions on the website or the GitHub repo, etc. So we can close out of that. We'll click add and our server will be created. Now you can see a server with this URL already exists, and that's because I've connected Higgsfield in the past. So all we have to do here is click on this connect button. It's going to have us log into our Higgsfield account. We will accept these permissions, and then it will bring us back to the Claude app. As you can see, Higgsfield is now selected. Now quickly, I do want to note that you can set permissions levels for specific tools within an MCP server. For example, you can set the permissions level for every single one of these tools to always allow, which is going to make it so you don't need to accept permissions every time Claude wants to do one of these things. But you can also set permissions for individual tool calls. So I probably want Claude to be able to show generations at any anytime, but I still want it to ask for permission when it generates videos. Maybe I don't want Claude to generate images at all, so I can turn that off with the block button here. But this is already all connected the same way that Canva was, so we can just head over to a new conversation and we can just ask Claude to generate a video of a guy working in an AI lab on a MacBook Pro and finding something extremely exciting. So it's generating the video now with a detailed prompt, and I'll be back in a minute when it finishes generating. And this is the video that it generated. So obviously this isn't the best AI video we've ever seen, but we could obviously improve the quality here with better prompting, a better model, and a skill that gives Claude more structure for this generation overall. The Higgsfield MCP is insanely powerful, so I definitely recommend trying it out. I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you're interested. And lastly, we need to go through the process for a desktop extension. To install a desktop extension, the process looks a little bit different. So we're going to open up our settings and head to the extensions section. Now here is where you can browse the different extensions that Claude already has created. And if I wanted Claude to be able to control my Google Chrome, I could click on this button and make sure I meet the requirements. Unfortunately for this one, because I'm on my PC right now, I won't be able to install this, so I'll look for a different one. All of our requirements are met with PDF Viewer, so we can just click the install button and get that installed on our computer. You can see that the PDF Viewer extension is now enabled. If we wanted to configure any of the settings for this, we could click this button here. It has the same format as the connectors page, with the one difference being that you can enable and disable these desktop extensions. If Anthropic doesn't have the extension you're looking for within their directory, you can use what's called an MCPB file. These are special files that package together everything that's needed for the local MCP server, as well as the MCP server itself, into one bundle. You can take those, upload them to the desktop app, and use the extension just like you installed it from the directory. So to illustrate this, I'm going to use the Excalidraw MCP. Now this is an official MCP server created by Excalidraw themselves, and it's just a GitHub repo, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you want to check it out. If we scroll to the install section, there are a couple different ways to get this up and running. We are going to cover the MCPB method, so I'm going to click on this releases page and download the latest release. So in order to get this uploaded, we can click on Advanced Settings, Install Extension, and then we can find that file that we just downloaded. I'm going to click on Preview, which will show us a brief summary of the information that was included within that MCPB file. It's going to show us the description, who it was created by, the tools that are available, and the requirements for your machine. It's also going to give you this warning, so make sure you trust any extensions that you're going to be installing. If everything looks good, you can click on the install button, and now your Claude Code will have access to Excalidraw. But now that you understand how to install MCP servers, it's very important that you remember two things. Don't go wild with MCP servers. Every MCP server that you add to Claude Code adds a little bit of information to its context window. So every time you send a message to Claude, it's getting that extra context, and that's costing you tokens. This can get super expensive, especially if you set up a bunch of MCP servers that you're not really using or that you don't use often. Now, as you can see, I have quite a few of these connectors set up, but it's really not too many. Most businesses use this many tools, and honestly, we use a lot more than this. These are just the ones that I have connected on my PC. If I run the /context command, we can get an idea of how much room those are actually taking up. And we can see that before we've sent any messages, 23% of our context window is already taken up. And if we open this drop down, we can see that 10% of that is coming from MCP tools. We can't do anything about the system tools, but we can do a lot about MCP tools. And that's just to load the general information. Once the MCP actually gets used, we see a lot more tokens. So that's just something to watch out for, and a good reason to have multiple different agents with access to different tools. You also want to make sure that any MCP server that you're downloading is 100% trusted. If it's coming from the software platform itself, it's most likely trustworthy. but just be cautious because there are some people out there who are creating MCP servers, distributing them, and then just stealing API keys. If you ever need any help reviewing one of these MCP servers, you have questions, or you just want to make sure it's going to be okay to use, feel free to message me inside of my school community, AI Innovators. I'm super active in here, answering questions all the time. We have weekly live calls, and you can even get a one-on-one call with me through the annual plan. So I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you're interested. But other than that, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you got some value out of it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep making videos just like this, and I'll see you in the next one.